purpose of this video is to show you how to label patterns correctly. You should refer to your textbook on page 20 that shows a pattern chart for the appropriate information that goes into a pattern card. Here I am back in Tükatek, and we're looking at our pattern pieces. The first thing that you want to do is to check the font size. That the font size for your patterns should be 1/4 of an inch. So you'll see here that it is 0.5, and you want to change that to 0.25 or 1/4 of an inch. And again, at the same time, make sure that your backup file is again either in your own file, or that it's, on your USB drive, or it's to the cloud computing. And you also have the option of drawing pieces with a filling or not. If I click on this and click on that as the default, and click on OK, you'll see that my pieces are actually filled. If I don't like that, I can go back to Options, not have the pieces drawn with a filling. Again, click on Default. And go ahead and click on OK, because I don't prefer to have those in the default. Now, on labeling. To label a pattern, you double click on the pattern and you're going to get a piece info. So that's for an individual piece. I'm going to show you how to label both one piece, as here, as well as all pieces in the file. So let's do first all pieces in the file and why we would use that function. I'm going to come over to Piece and go to Global Info. So what Global Info is it's referring to all pieces in this file. Now what you want to have in here is a SKU number. You may recall, or hopefully you do, from 310, the actual style number or SKU number. So for this class, your SKU number should be your initials. So mine would be CR. This happens to be my pattern block, so I'm going to label it as pattern block. And then, since this is going to end up being my skirt and not the other pieces, I can also add in skirt. So it's the style name, your initials, pattern block skirt. As we go on later in the quarter, I'm going to be asking you to add numbers, a SKU number, to your style. But this will be fine for your pattern block. I'm going to go ahead and click on Apply right next to it. And then what it's going to do, and you can see it already, is that it applied the SKU number to each pattern piece. So each pattern piece has a SKU number. Then also, we commonly use two-way. A two-way is just basically a two-way pattern, and being able to reverse your top and your bottom when you're laying out your fabric. So that is actually also common. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Apply, and you will notice that my grain line has a double arrow, both for the top and for the bottom, as opposed to a one-way that if I clicked on one way here and apply, it would only have the single arrowhead. So that's a one-way design. But for you, for most of the things that you create, it should be two-way and then apply. So that's going to be for all pattern pieces, the SKU number and the grain line. And that's where you would use Global Info. So I'm going to go ahead and click on OK and close. Now I want to do each pattern piece itself. And if I now double click on this piece here, First, I'll see the text size, and the text size again should be 0.25, and that should be all of the pieces that for the size. Because when you actually plot it out, it actually is in real size, so that would be 1/4 of an inch. Now, the piece name. The piece name is the name of the pattern, not the name of your file, not your style, not like full skirt or pleated skirt, but it's the actual piece name. So it is appropriate just to label that back, or as you saw previously, skirt back. And it should not be, again, pleated, full, gathered, something to that effect. It's just the front or the back or the facing, or it's actually the label for the pattern piece itself. Now the code here, it's blank. And the code is referring to a initial for the piece, and that is optional. We have back already, but sometimes companies like to also have a code, or they just prefer to have codes. So you could have both, or you can leave the uh, code empty. So on descriptions, though, we should only have kind of exceptions. Cut to is normal, and you shouldn't have anything other than uh, the exception in your descriptions. For example, if it's normally you're going to cut 2, if we were to cut 1, then that can be in the description. So it's notes to the cutter. But again, normal, or you're cutting 2, then you wouldn't have a description. Here, if you prefer, you can have the name of the pattern style. So like this is your basic block. So that can be in description. So descriptions could include the name of the style and any exceptions. Now, material here should be self. And self is indicated by spelling it out or with an S. So either one is appropriate. The orientation angle should be centered by grain line. And the quantity per bundle depends upon how many pieces that you have. So right now, this is designed to have 2 pieces to my back. And the front, that we'll see in just a minute, is designed to have 1 piece. In other words, it has a seam down the back. But it's okay for the block to only have 1 piece, because we can actually put in our zipper in the side seam. So the preference for me would just be to have 1, and we're going to open that up later on. And the rest of these you can leave. If I only have 1 piece, I don't have an opposite piece, so that would be none. I only have that with 2 pieces. And then I can go ahead and apply and then close. So you notice that my text is now smaller. And again, it's only for that 1 piece. So I have to double click on this. Again, since it was already typed in, I need to change to 0.25. The piece name, I should be consistent with what I did for the back. So I'm going to go ahead and do a front and FR. Now here we have that it is supposed to be a cut 1, and so that can be in the description to have a cut 1. And again, I can have this as also my style name here. So style name, cut 1. So best to use consistent capitalization. And then since I already typed in self, I have a drop down menu now. So I can select that as self. Again, I want to be consistent with all of my pieces. If I'm spelling it out on 1, I need to spell it out on all of them. The quantity per bundle is going to be 1, because I'm going to open up that piece later, and I'm going to click on apply and then close. Okay, so we see the piece labeling. So that ends piece labeling.